You've probably heard the news, but what exactly happened with Boeing Starliner's spacecraft? On June 5, 2024, NASA astronauts Barry Wilmore and Sunita Williams launched from Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida aboard Boeing's Starliner spacecraft. This mission, known as the Crew Flight Test or CFT, was a critical milestone for Boeing and NASA. It marked the first time the Starliner carried humans into space, with the goal of certifying the spacecraft for regular crewed missions to the ISS under NASA's Commercial Crew Program. The program, initiated in 2014, aimed to foster private sector spacecraft development, namely Boeing Starliner and SpaceX's Crew Dragon, to reduce NASA's reliance on Russia's Soyuz spacecraft for ISS transport. The original plan was straightforward. Wilmore and Williams would spend approximately 8 to 10 days on the ISS, testing the Starliner's systems in space, docking with the station, and returning to Earth. The mission was a test flight, meaning it was designed to identify and resolve any issues before the spacecraft could be approved for operational use. Both astronauts, seasoned veterans with prior long-duration ISS missions, were well suited for this task, having backgrounds as U.S. Navy test pilots accustomed to troubleshooting experimental systems. Early signs of trouble. The Starliner's journey to the ISS didn't go as smoothly as planned. Even before launch, the spacecraft faced delays. An initial attempt on May 6, 2024 was scrubbed due to a faulty pressure regulation valve in the Atlas V rocket's liquid oxygen tank. A subsequent helium leak in the Starliner's service module, a section housing the propulsion system, was identified but deemed manageable after analysis, pushing the launch to June 5th. Once in orbit, more serious problems emerged. As the Starliner approached the ISS on June 6th, 5 of its 28 reaction control system or RCS thrusters malfunctioned, causing a delay in docking. These thrusters, critical for precise maneuvering, failed unexpectedly during the rendezvous. Additionally, the helium leaks, which had been monitored pre-launch, worsened in space, with 4 additional leaks detected after docking. Helium is essential for pressurizing the fuel lines that feed the thrusters, so these issues raised immediate concerns about the spacecraft's reliability. Despite these setbacks, Wilmore and Williams successfully docked the Starliner to the ISS on their second attempt, demonstrating manual control capabilities. The spacecraft remained attached to the station, but its issues cast doubt on its ability to safely return the crew. If you are enjoying this video, it would mean a lot to us if you could take a moment to like, subscribe, and share. Thank you. Troubleshooting and extended stay. NASA and Boeing quickly launched an investigation into the thruster malfunctions and helium leaks. The initial 10-day mission timeline was extended as engineers analyzed telemetry data and conducted ground tests. The Starliner's batteries, the primary factor limiting its dock duration, performed better than expected, allowing it to remain at the ISS beyond the planned 45-day window. Meanwhile, Wilmore and Williams integrated into the ISS's Expedition 71 crew, assisting with maintenance, experiments, and operations alongside the 7 other astronauts aboard. The thruster issues were particularly puzzling. 4 of the 5 affected thrusters were eventually restored to functionality in space, but the root cause remained unclear. Ground tests at NASA's White Sands test facility in New Mexico replicated the thruster failures, revealing that overheating and degradation of Teflon seals might be to blame. However, the service module, where the thrusters and helium system reside, would burn up during re-entry, preventing post-flight physical inspection. This limitation drove NASA to gather as much data as possible while the spacecraft was still docked. The helium leaks, while stabilized, added another layer of complexity. Although enough helium remained for a return trip, the combination of propulsion uncertainties made NASA cautious. Throughout June and July, the agency and Boeing insisted the astronauts were not stranded, emphasizing that the Starliner could serve as an emergency lifeboat if needed. However, the lack of a firm return date fueled public speculation and media narratives about the crew being stuck. An uncrewed return. By late July, NASA faced a critical decision: return Wilmore and Williams on the Starliner despite unresolved issues, or find an alternative. On August 24, after extensive reviews involving NASA leadership, Boeing engineers, and independent experts, Administrator Bill Nelson announced that the Starliner would return to Earth uncrewed. The decision prioritized safety, reflecting lessons from past spaceflight tragedies like the Columbia and Challenger disasters. Nelson framed it as a test flight's inherent risk, noting that the data didn't provide sufficient confidence in the Starliner's re-entry performance. Boeing, while maintaining that the spacecraft was safe based on its testing, supported NASA's call. On September 6, 2024, the Starliner undocked from the ISS and landed autonomously at White Sands Space Harbor in New Mexico. The re-entry was mostly successful, though additional thruster issues emerged, reinforcing NASA's caution. Wilmore and Williams watched their ride depart, leaving them on the ISS for an extended mission. Integration into Crew 9 and SpaceX rescue. With the Starliner gone, NASA adjusted its crew rotation plans. Wilmore and Williams were folded into Expedition 72 and assigned to return with SpaceX Crew 9, originally scheduled to launch in late September 2024 with 4 astronauts. To accommodate the Starliner duo, Crew 9 launched on September 28 with only 2 crew members: NASA's Nick Hague and Roscosmos' Alexander Gorbunov, leaving 2 seats open on the Crew Dragon Freedom for Wilmore and Williams. This extended their stay to approximately 9 months, with a return planned for late March 2025. The Crew 9 mission, docking on September 30th, brought new SpaceX spacesuits for Wilmore and Williams, as their Boeing suits were incompatible with the Dragon spacecraft. This ensured they could safely return if an emergency arose during the 22-day gap between Starliner's departure and Crew 9's arrival, a period some considered the riskiest of their extended stay. Life aboard the ISS. Throughout their prolonged mission, Wilmore and Williams adapted seamlessly. They conducted research, performed spacewalks, including Williams setting a record for cumulative spacewalking time by a woman, and maintained the station. The ISS, roughly the size of a 6-bedroom house, had sufficient supplies, food, oxygen, and clothing, thanks to regular resupply missions. The astronauts even made pizza in the Unity module's galley, showcasing their resilience in microgravity. Physiological challenges like muscle atrophy and radiation exposure were monitored, but NASA deemed stays of up to a year manageable based on prior data. Psychologically, both astronauts, selected for their resilience, expressed enjoyment of their time in space, though they acknowledged the emotional toll of separation from family. The aftermath and broader implications. The Starliner's troubles were a significant setback for Boeing, already grappling with a tarnished reputation from commercial aviation scandals. The program, over budget by $1.5 billion and years delayed, lagged behind SpaceX, which had completed multiple successful ISS missions since 2020. NASA remained committed to certifying Starliner for future flights, planning a review of the CFD data, but its next crewed mission was tentatively pushed to August 2025 or later. Public discourse, amplified by figures like Elon Musk, framed the astronauts as stranded or abandoned, with some alleging political delays in a SpaceX rescue. However, NASA's timeline aligned with its pre-existing crew rotation schedule, not political interference. Wilmore and Williams refuted these claims, emphasizing their role in a larger mission and their trust in NASA's process. Conclusion: return to Earth. The astronauts' extended stay resulted from a cascade of technical issues with the Boeing Starliner, thruster failures and helium leaks that rendered it too risky for a crewed return. NASA's decision to prioritize safety, coupled with the logistical realities of ISS crew rotations, transformed an 8-day test flight into a 9-month odyssey. Wilmore and Williams finally returned to Earth on March 18, 2025, aboard the Crew Dragon Freedom, landing off Florida's coast after Crew 10's arrival on March 16. Their journey underscored the challenges of pioneering spaceflight, the importance of redundancy in crew transport, and the adaptability of NASA's astronauts in the face of unexpected hurdles. Thanks for watching. Please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe. Could you survive almost a year in space? Please leave a comment. And remember, there's a whole universe out there, just waiting for you to explore it. Take care.